So, as you know, with the time jumping detective, my whodunit series, um, I could I could absolutely do this in radio story form, but it would also make a fantastic TV show. Now, the angle I was going for is obviously she's solving the crime that was committed against her, right? No one believes her, she's on her own, she has to do her own investigation. But she's a time jumper, so obviously, as I have had to do in my real life, I've had to rely on codes and messages and clues and hints that I left myself in the past to help solve my attempted murder, that everything was done to me currently and, sort of within the last few years because of my ex. I left clues for years in the past to help solve this crime that was committed against me in real life. So this is all going to be based on real life, but obviously using artistic license. One of the things that I do as a time jumper is anywhere I go, whether there's known history to the place or not, if I get called to see codes, if I see it, if I'm interacting with it, it's for a reason. And it's to be documented because obviously the dead who are consciously aware of everything that's going on in the future, like when they come to me, they're helping me prove my science and they're helping me prove that everything that God says about the truth of what happens after we die and the science behind it and the reason behind it and, the evolutionary process of the atom and biology and the ever expanding universe, how it all works together like clockwork, like a Swiss watch kind of clockwork, for the betterment of humanity, for the betterment of living organisms, for the betterment of the expansion of the universe, for the betterment of the creation of the new universe that has been built to the side that people don't know about because they're too busy thinking that aliens fly around in tin spaceships and all of that. So while they're being distracted by the lies and diversions that the media and everybody else is feeding, they're not seeing what's going on in the background. And those who know what's going on in the background are the ones that are being given the opportunity to be a part of that new world, to help create that new universe that is the complete opposite of the universe that we're in now, which is pretty much dying. And if we don't get off, we're going with it. We're going to go the way of the dinosaurs and all of that. So God doesn't want that, and neither do our galactic brethren. So when I go to places, it doesn't matter where I am. It could be a shopping mall, it could be like a graveyard, it could be a historical building, a museum, anywhere that nowhere is like nowhere is off limits when it comes to time and my ability to read codes and open time portals, I guess, even though I mean, I hate calling them portals because everybody thinks that portals are everywhere. Oh, there's a portal in this haunted building, but it's not. It doesn't work like that. Portals don't remain open. They have to be opened and then closed. Now, with the quantum menace, she reads codes and paintings and books and all of that. The artists and writers and musicians and that leave behind in the past that help her solve the mystery of who was behind the destruction of history, basically. In the Quantum Menace, A Battle of Two Worlds, her and her legion of mutants are set about to try and stop the hidden powers who are funding the shadow people, or the shadow folk, and Art Morda and all of that to erase history of music and art and entertainment and that, so that they can control what people listen to in the future. And as a result, it's erasing people's memories of things like, say, the Beatles or Van Gogh, Van Gogh, as it's pronounced, and like Da Vinci and all that. It's not only erasing people's memories, but it's actually erasing their works from history. And they are the inspirers of the world. They mold and shape the world. The high functioning creative empath molds and shapes the world that we live in and the world to come. So it's important that we save them. So the Quantum Menace and her team of mutant legions, they go and they save history basically, and she opens up the portals, she jumps through them, she can go to anywhere in time to the people that she needs to go to. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to save Van Gogh, who was desperately in love with her. um, but but she is able to save a lot of the others, like Sho, the samurai warrior. She goes in, she shows him how to fight his dragons, fight his demons, so to speak. But in the comic book, she's helping him fight his invisible dragon. To everybody else, they look like they're drunk. It's my tip to the hat of Jackie Chan for the Drunken Master. The Drunken Master martial arts series. Because remember, I said my dad fed me a diet of horror movies and martial arts movies when I was growing up. So the Drunken Master movie 1 and 2, like, I absolutely adored them. They're some of my favourite martial arts movies ever. I just thought his fighting style and that was just genius, just absolute genius. And because he put comedy into it as well. So Sho and his invisible dragon, because to the outside world, while the Quantum Menace is teaching Sho how to harness his ability, which is basically he can generate power in his hand and fire it off like, balls of energy, kind of like Cyclops, but instead of his eyes, he can use it in his hands and use the energy to manipulate things around him. So I'm thinking in the Time Traveller, the Time Jumper series, the Time Jumping Detective, because I need to be able to turn this into a series and not just like a couple of little, vignettes or, like a little one-off thing, because this is something that needs to be like a weekly series. I need to be able to extend the story. And so what I'm going to do is, just like in real life, when I'm off doing my physics and all of that and busy deciphering codes for our gods and ancestors to present to the world, I often get waylaid with working on unsolved mysteries and unsolved murders and all of that. Like I've put them up, like Henry McCabe and the Black Dahlia murders and all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it into the series that while she's time jumping to work on her own murder, she gets called in by the ghosts of the past, by history, by the people of history, by the powers that be, so to speak, to solve other unsolved murders and unsolved cases and unsolved mysteries. And then that way we'll be educating people about the real cases, like, because obviously they'll be based on real events, because I write about real everything in my life. I add a blend of history and a bit of imagination and artistic license. So the time jumping detective is going to be set on the trail to set her own, to uncover her own crime, to find out who was responsible, who was like the big man on canvas behind funding all of what was done to me, who was the mastermind behind it all, to trigger it all. Not only is she going to be trying to solve all of that in the series, but while she's doing that, just like in real life, she's going to be drawn in to look at unsolved murders and, reinvestigate things like the Soul Collector, except the Soul Collector is an actual Ministry of Souls police detective, like homicide, unsolved murders, like detective. She's an actual cop, like an underworld police officer for the Ministry of Souls. Whereas in the time jumping detective, because the Soul Collector is specifically targeting Like, she's sent to target specific crimes and criminals in history in order to solve them, so that they can clear the history books of the unsolved knots that are dragging history down and stopping mankind from evolving on a civil and humane perspective, because we're so uncivilized at the moment. We really are. We're inhumane and we're uncivilized. So, but that's because there's so many knots that need to be tied off with the past in our civilization that nobody's looking at, that need to be cleared up. That, you know, like, for example, the Black Dahlia murders, or even the Jack the Ripper murders. We've had how long? Like decades and decades, and like over 100 years of people assuming and saying this, that, and the other thing, but nobody gets a definitive answer. And so the problem is never resolved. The victims never get justice. You know, their voices are never heard. They don't name the names. I don't care what anyone says. This whole thing with Jack the Ripper and the DNA, there's just something not right about it at all, in any way, shape or form. And I think I know why, but I'm not going to say. It's just, I do not believe what they've said at all. I think that they've quickly come up with something in order to make it go away, but it's not going to go away, because most scientists don't believe that the evidence about who the Jack the Ripper was is real. And I don't either, because you can't tell me that a butcher who was relatively poor and unstable had access to carriages with men in high tops and, you know, expensive coats and that sort of thing, unless he was working for people. And he may have been there sometime. He may, but I don't believe that he is Jack the Ripper at all, in any way, shape or form, like at all. So, and because a butcher of meats wouldn't, even though they would know how to chop up bodies and that, cut bodies open, they wouldn't know the female anatomy to target specific gynecological areas in that on a woman, unless they had a lot of practice. And even by the police officers, even by the investigation standards, that the cuttings of those bodies were crude at best. Which is why I believe it was someone connected to the medical school. And in my video, like, I talk about it all. I've pulled up the proof. You know, it makes sense. Same with the Cleveland torso murders. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. But this is my point. While she's investigating her own crimes, the crimes that were committed against her, she's going to be drawn into the dark, murky past of solving crimes and mysteries from the past that she gets pulled into. And even at some point, I might even bring in Ruby Corazon, because obviously they are all connected, they are all related, they are all the granddaughters in the end, the granddaughters and the grandsons, basically, of, you know, the Brehena ancestry. So yeah, so that's how I'm going to do it. I sit here quietly and I incubate, and I sit and I let it gather. I think and I observe, and I watch certain things on YouTube and that to help feed my inspiration. The other thing is, I was just saying to my boys, and I put up the post about my museum. Our foundation, I mentioned yesterday, we're going to have a little museum where we'll have like Brehena gowns and, set pieces and all of that for people to have a peruse and think, oh my God, that's so cool. That's the character from The Harvest Moon Goes Hunting, or that's the movie set from one of the characters from Message in a Bottle, that sort of thing. But at my resort, I'm going to have, in the Underworld Street, I'm going to have a museum that is for the occult and macabre. So on our travels, if anyone wants to give me any cursed items, or, I'm able to go to any auctions and pick up anything from crimes, or, anything paranormal, occult sort of thing, I'll get them and I'll put them in my museum. which means that it's going to give me a lot of opportunity to have access to writing materials that I can put into the time jumping detective. Essentially, it's going to be like Doctor Who. It's going to be like a new version of Doctor Who, but we're not dealing with aliens on other planets and that. We're dealing with the glitches in the matrix of civilization's historical past. So, like if I get to go to like Mexico or anywhere where there were Aztecs and Mayan temples and that sort of thing, like the stuff that I'm going to see there, the things that I'm going to be privy to that nobody else in the world is going to be privy to, I'll be able to not only turn that into like an occult private eye show series, my TV show, where we go around investigating the unsolved mysteries and all of that with in the art of creation, it's Joseph B. Foote and Theo Lazarus who do the show, because it's like ghost adventure sort of thing, but not fake. But in real life, I'll be doing it. Where I go on my travels, I'll be recording everywhere that as soon as I pick up on anything, as soon as I know that I'm being fed codes through the phases in the atmosphere, through the particles in the ionosphere, through the atmosphere, I'll start hitting record and I'll turn that into a show to upload when I've got the money to, like, obviously when we're up and running and I've got a professional like filming crew, we'll be able to turn it into professional, like edited properly shows for my streaming service. But it'll give me a great opportunity to pick up memorabilia and items in that to put in my museum. And I will be time jumping like you wouldn't believe. I can't go anywhere without picking up on codes. It's just sometimes it might be days before I say anything, because it can take a while to decipher these codes, because I don't like to put anything out into the airwaves, into the ethers, until I'm 100% certain. So the time jumping detective, she's going to be looking at real crimes, real unsolved murders, real unsolved mysteries. Like, it's all going to be real. It's all going to be real. But I'm just going to use imagination and artistic license. And it's kind of going to be like Doctor Who, but not intergalactic. Dealing with the time-space continuum, but without the aliens and all of that, so... But I always say I'm not Doctor Who, even though I am a time traveller. I'm not Doctor Who, I'm Doctor Huh? Doctor what? Because people just, as soon as they know what because like there's no one like me out there. There's no one that does everything that I do. So when people first come across me and what I am and what I do, they're like, huh? So I'm like, Doctor Huh? It's only the really switched on people that get it straight away, and they're always the ones that want to get on board with what I'm doing. But unfortunately, I can't let just anybody into this. I can't let anybody invest in what I'm building. I can't let just anybody be a part of it, because it's all about maintaining balance and energy. And if someone isn't on my frequency, especially my creative frequency, we would just end up clashing, and I don't have time to explain what I'm doing or explain who I am to people who just see dollar signs or see the opportunity to be famous, or be a part of something that's going to make history, be a part of something that's groundbreaking. They see the stars and the glitz and the glamour and the sparkle and all of that, and we will inevitably I will end up getting rid of them, because they're not in it for the right reasons. So if they're not in this for the children because they want to be a part of changing the face of entertainment and protecting children in the entertainment industry and protecting kids with talents that are a little bit weird and kooky and a little bit of a, shadow to their community or their society or their school or whatever, then, if it's not about the kids for them, then I'm not interested. So, I'm happily being a trailblazer, burning everything down in my path, knocking everything down in my path on my own. It's my empire, it's my creation. I will bring in investors if and when I'm allowed to, according to my father. Otherwise, I'm happy to just use my money to invest a little bit at a time and watch it grow. Like this is a step-by-step plan if I'm doing this by myself. And if I'm not doing this by myself and God wants other people involved, he'll bring the right people to me. That without a shadow of a doubt, I won't have a problem with them investing in what I'm building, because I'll know they're doing it for the future and not for them now. Because what I'm building is going to have long-term repercussions financially and, educationally, and from a spiritual and theological and philosophical and physics point of view, is going to have a long-reaching effect centuries after I'm dead. I'm changing the face of religion. I'm changing the face of the occult. I'm changing the face of the way everybody sees what they think and feel in conjunction to how they live in their life. So, so if you're not my equal, if you're not in this on the same level as me, I don't have time to stop and wait for you to raise your vibration to be a part of it. So I'm happy just to sit in my little bubble and do what I'm doing with my sons at my side and my sister at the ready, who I've just been discussing with her. The video I was just making about the palliative care food, I forgot to mention with my baby food. She's a palliative care nurse, and it's her dream to have like a little, what I call a tangi whare, like a place where people in palliative care can go and spend their days in peace and comfort, and that, so out of the hospitals and all of that, where we as Indigenous people, Māori people, we know how to cross our loved ones to the other side when they're dying, and we know how to treat them after they're dead. Nobody grieves and nobody mourns and nobody deals to the dying better than Māori people. I'm sorry, I'm not being racist, but it's true. We know how to handle grief better than anyone. And so I had said to her in the past, I'd even mentioned it to one of my ex's cult members, Michelle, about having a cottage on the property where people who are terminally ill can come with their families and that, and spend their time like living out their days in the peace and comfort by my meadow and with the bird song and the wild animals and all that, and then they can pass peacefully and we'll take care of it for them. And with her being a palliative care nurse, she knows all about that stuff, so I'm bringing her on board to be like my consultant slash director slash whatever she wants to be, but also I'm going to get her help with my palliative care food as well, because when my mum was dying and when my sister was dying, but especially my mum, because like she was getting ready to go when I had to leave, she couldn't eat solids anymore. So I used to, like, when I used to cook food, like, because she loved my fried mince and rice and mashed potatoes and that, but it was too much for her to chew. Like, she hoed a bowl down, but towards the end, it was, too much for her. So I used to mash the food down and, like, sneaky things that were all for her, that, because I didn't want her to know that it was like, palliative care food, because she knew she was dying, but I think she just tried to hold on as long as she could. But yeah, palliative care food. The baby food is also palliative care food. If you're recovering from operations or, like mouth surgery or anything like that where you're not allowed to eat solids, my baby food is going to be perfect for that. It will have all the nutrients in it. It'll have, everything in it that's required by law. But my sister's going to help me with that. So, yeah, so there's all stuff going on behind the scenes. I am so tired, but it's I see it all so clearly now. And now I just have to explain to the boys why it needs to be Canada we go to, because I need the snow. And also, Canada has the best tax breaks for games companies. And Gemstone Games, obviously our games company. So there's a lot more reason. It's like the pros and cons of staying in the UK versus immigrating to Canada. And there's more pros to moving to Canada than there are staying in the UK, especially when it comes to the money and business side of it, because Great Britain, Starmer's government, the Scottish government, they are not friends of entrepreneurs. They are not friends of people. They are not, they're not friends of children. They're not friends of free speech. They're not friends of healthy living and sunshine and fresh food and, garden living from the garden, from what you get out of the garden. The British governments in the UK are not friends of anything that I am setting up. They would go out of their way to shut me down, shut the kids up, tax us. I don't want to have these kids coming from all over the world to find themselves and be comfortable in their own self-expression, to live in a country where they're literally thinking it's a brilliant idea to block the sun out. Where you block the sun out, like it's going to mess with the tides, it's going to mess with farming, it's going to mess with the circadian rhythm, which is what they want, because they're evil, like they're just pure evil. It's just pure evil. And the thing is, as much and all as what I love my king, I desperately love my king. If he's not going to do anything about it, I'm not staying. I have no interest in putting money into the UK where the government are going out of their way to try and stop the growth of everything that I'm trying to bring up from the soil in order to tend to the children who will be benefiting from the harvest that I am sowing. Whoever reaps the benefits of what I'm growing is going to reap the benefits in such a way that it's going to have an impact on their lives forever. And I take that sort of stuff very seriously. Whereas the UK, they've just turned into Bond villains. And if the king is okay with that, then that's his doing. But as soon as I get my money, my boys and I won't be sticking around. We'll take our money elsewhere. We'll take this elsewhere. And the only country that seems to fit the bill for what I'm looking for right now is Canada. So, and I keep dreaming about Canada. It's like all the arrows are pointing to Canada. So me and my boys will go there. I'm doing it standing on my own 2 feet. Anyone that I get involved, it will be with, with my father bringing them in. But yeah, this is mine. It's mine alone. It's my stamp on it. And nobody's getting a piece of this if they haven't put in the same amount of effort to earn the right to be a part of it. I'm not letting people, especially from my past, anyone from my past who isn't in my life right now, this very second, if we are not in communication right now, to this day, they won't be able to just walk in and, oh, I'm sorry, can I be a part of it now? No, no, no. So, it was all fun and games when you were tearing me to shreds and thinking that I wasn't worthy of your time or your presence or your energy or your love or your whatever, when I was an option, when I was something that embarrassed you, when you didn't understand it. Just because you understand it now, just because you see it all clearly now, doesn't mean you can come back with your tail between your legs and try and make up for what you did, and trust me, because there are people that are trying to come back into my life after everything they did. No apologies, no trying to fix it, no nothing. Just walking in, acting like they haven't done anything wrong, thinking they can be a part of what it is I'm growing. No. If you're not in my life right now, this very second, if you are not someone that I communicate with or have communicated with within the last, like, say, 24 hours, you're not anyone that's coming into my future. The door's closed. You can't come back once I close the door. And there are a lot of people sniffing about who are desperately wanting to come back in, acting like nothing's, like they didn't do anything wrong, who think that they can just swan in, like, oh, Debbie, nice Debbie, nice soft-hearted, Debbie's so kind. Well, you're not once I close the door. I love you until I don't. I trust you until I don't. And once I don't, I never will again. So for all of the people hiding in the shadows, the students, the exes, any ex-friends, any ex-clients, any ex-family members who did me dirty, who are now knowing that they're probably going to be under investigation because of Stan and Chris going down, if you were all involved in it, if you had contact with any of them, if you believed their lies, if you got pulled into the stories, if you believed any of it and turned your back on me and my boys, or turned your back on me and our future plans or anything like that, don't think you can come back. Look, you will not be allowed. The door will be closed. If I am destined to have love in my life, it will be new love. Not anyone from the past trying to come back. New, all new, clean slate, brand new. So I'm too busy having fun, planning my future and planning an incredible party with my sister. My sister and I, for the last couple of days, we've been planning this get together with our karaoke night and all of that. So, and our plans, like, we're building now. And she stuck by me. She never left my side. Same with my nephew William. He's coming as part of, coming on the adventure as well, because they never left my side. Their loyalty was solid from day one.